Hello, welcome to the LWML Leadership Development Interview Series. My name is Marie McNary and I'm a member of the LWML Leadership Development Committee. Today we are here chatting with Deaconess Betty Knapp. She has been kind enough to come on, talk a little bit about her LWML leadership journey, and just kind of tell you a little more about what she does with her volunteer work and serving the Lord through the LWML. Welcome. Thank you for joining us, Deaconess Betty.
Thank you for inviting me. It's nice to be here.
Yeah. First, just can you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Sure. I was born in rural Northwest Missouri. Everybody thinks Missouri Lutheran, you must live in St. Louis, but it's the opposite corner of the state.
Yeah.
I have two sisters, two older sisters. My dad was a chiropractor. My mom was a stay-at-home mother who was active in LWML when I was a kid, so I've kind of known about that for a long time. Yeah. And I went away to college to Seward for my first 2 years, and then to Valparaiso for the deaconess training, and from there was placed in my first call, which was at Redeemer Lutheran in Marquette, Michigan, and I stayed there for 37 years until I retired. So that's kind of my life.
Great. Yeah, that's exciting. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you do right now for the LWML? You hold a vice president role right now.
I am a vice president now. Over the years, I've been in many different roles, from committee members to a committee chairman, different things like that. But currently with the vice president of Special Focus Ministries, that's the area that I serve in.
Yeah, and what does Special Focus Ministries cover?
Well, you know what? It's aptly named because it truly are they truly are the special focuses that the organization has chosen for this time. Yeah. So I have three committees. I always have to think. Yeah. 3 committees under me and 1 liaison. Okay. So the 3 committees are the Committee on Young Women, the Heart to Heart Sisters, and the Church Workers in Mission. Those 3 committees, and then the Deaf Ministry liaison is also in my department.
Oh, so, very interesting.
Of course,
is that a new program?
I'm sorry?
Is that a new program, the Deaf Ministries?
Yes, yes. The previous vice president of Special Focus Ministry, Kay Wolf, kind of began that a little bit in her term, and she graciously volunteered to serve as that liaison for us to kind of help us connect with our sisters who are deaf and hard of hearing.
Yeah, no, that's a great outreach program. Great. So you mentioned you had lots of various positions before you held this national vice president role. Do you have, what are a couple of your favorite volunteer roles that you've held for LWML throughout the years?
Hard to pick a favorite, but I worked in the Christian Life Department a number of times before it had that term, and it was with program resources, and then it was Christian Life. I enjoyed that aspect because it kind of dovetailed with the work that I did as a parish deaconess. I also enjoyed the human care aspect, which when I first started on it, it was called mission service. It's the same basic information, but those were great committees to be able to work on.
Oh yeah, Christian Life, it's very. Do you have an LWML mentor? And if you do, could you tell us a little about them?
You know what, because I've been around like forever and ever, I started serving on committees when Ida Mall was elected as president. And I've been blessed to be able to serve pretty much continuously during the last 27 years or so. Yeah. But of those different presidents that I've worked with, they've all been wonderful. But the one who kind of served more as a mentor for me was Virginia von Segern. Okay. And I believe that was because she asked me to serve in the role of planner on her executive committee. Okay. And that was a position I'd been on a committee, I'd been a chairman of a committee, but I'd never been involved in that level of activity in the organization. And I truly admired the women who had been planners before. And so I really credit Virginia for encouraging me to take a kind of a leap of faith and step into that role. I unfortunately could only serve 2 years instead of all 4 years of her term because it was a lot of travel commitment that I just really couldn't do with a full-time position, but I loved the 2 years that I was able to serve on that.
Yeah, that's great. Have you found now that as you've been involved in LWML for a longer period of time that you're finding young women to kind of pay it forward and mentor kind of to mentor or teach them about your LWML journey?
Sometimes some of them are not necessarily younger women, but women
Yeah.
who haven't necessarily stepped into a leadership role.
Yeah.
I've been encouraging in that way. There are also younger women that have been a part of that too, but
Yeah.
I hope I can be a role model for them, although I don't consider myself much of a role model, but I hope I can be an encourager for them.
Yeah. Well, kind of speaking of that, what advice would you give to someone who kind of is timid about stepping into a leadership
Mhm.
role or getting involved, or kind of sees LWML but isn't quite sure how they fit and are nervous about getting involved?
Yeah, I kind of thought about that question a little bit earlier, and I'm thinking part of it would be encouraging them to recognize that someone saw something in them and is trying to encourage them to step out themselves to offer their services, their
Yeah.
skills, their abilities in service to the LWML. And hopefully they would recognize by encouragement that that there really was something there that someone saw and was trying to encourage them to be involved.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a great answer. So in being an LWML leader, it looks different in different situations. LWML is different in different places around the country. So how has being an LWML leader, how has leadership changed for you through the years as you've taken different positions and in different levels?
I think that it has challenged me to step out to do things in front of people where I would normally have chosen to be in the background.
Yeah.
That was kind of my call and my purpose as a parish deaconess. I did a lot of supporting background, encouraging those that were also involved in ministry. I always joke that my seat in church was the back row of the balcony because I just wanted to be there in case I needed to do something to be there for people.
Yeah.
And so I guess I just try to encourage them, maybe through hands-on involvement, stepping up and doing one thing
Yeah.
to get involved and not feel like it's overwhelming. It's not a life sentence to be
Yeah.
involved. If you choose to be involved and get your feet wet and do something hands-on, it can give you some good experience.
Yeah. Do you find LWML and church organizations in general are a little bit different or easier to get involved in that way because the people are supporting and kind of caring and work
I
with
would
you? Yeah.
I would certainly hope so.
Yeah.
I haven't been too involved in different community things. I have over the years
Yeah.
periodically, but my position at church was always the number one role that I did. So I didn't have a lot of extra time to be involved in community committees and that kind of thing. But you see at times the situations where people are kind of stepping on each other to try to get to the top, which
Yeah.
never really is something that I
Oh, yeah.
aspired to.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So let's go back to the beginning of your LWML leadership journey or of your LWML time. You mentioned your mom was involved in LWML. Is that how you first became involved in LWML, is going with your
That's
mom?
my first recollection of it is by
Yeah.
observing my mom. She was a local leader and a zone leader in the Missouri district. She liked structure and bylaws committee. Never served on those. Probably wouldn't choose to.
Yeah.
But that was a very strong commitment on her part
Yeah.
to be involved in LWML that way.
Yeah.
Of course, as a kid, the fun part was mom was gone to meetings, so dad got to babysit us.
Oh, fun.
That was
Yeah.
fun. But I was able to go to one convention with my mom,
Oh,
the very
fun.
first one that I
Yeah.
attended in Omaha.
Okay.
I was up here in Michigan. My mom was in Missouri, not far from Omaha, and so we went to that convention together, and that was lots of good memories there.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great.
Mhm.
So would you share how you see God's hand placing you in the different locations you found yourself in for LWML as you serve him in the church?
You know, when I was thinking about that, I was thinking more about where he's placed me in
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
And I think I can equate that also to LWML, but I remember as a student, we were placed on internship, and that I was placed in inner city Flint, Michigan for my 1-year internship, which I really enjoyed. It was very different from my growing up. It was in an ethnic, multicultural setting. It was an inner city church. Both of those things diametrically opposed to where I grew up in a small rural town in Northwest Missouri.
Yeah.
And I think, he guided me in that opportunity. He guided
Yeah.
me here to Redeemer to serve in this congregation.
Yeah.
And I think in a lot of ways, he's guided me through the areas when I've been able to volunteer to serve in LWML, whether it be
Yeah.
in a district level or on the national level. I just have always felt like he has encouraged me to step out and do things that I probably would never have tried to do on my own.
Oh, yeah.
I've always felt, I knew that, of course, he had my back, and I knew that through prayer, I could really see what his direction was for that. And
Yeah.
I've been blessed, and I've really enjoyed all the time that I've been able to do that.
Yeah, that's great. Do you have one or two LWML or just like experiences like in LWML and volunteering that have brought you the most joy that have really meant something personally to you as you've gone through them?
Hmm. Well, I'm going to think of two. One of them is a
Yeah.
local one, and that was in serving at Redeemer. My position was to serve as the liaison to the women's ministry that was happening at the church.
Okay.
And oftentimes that meant that I was the driver because I was the youngest one going. And I do remember attending the Cleveland convention
Okay.
and taking a 15-passenger van with 12 women packed in there from Upper Michigan to Ohio for the convention. Lots of fun with those ladies along the way. It was a great experience. And I think one of the ones I would remember from my LWML experience is serving on the mustard seed task force.
Okay.
When we did a redesign of the mustard seeds with the Christian Life Committee,
Yeah.
Myrna Lou Meyer was on that committee with me,
Yeah.
and President Linda, I think it was, who asked us if we would stay on as a task force, just free to do mustard seed devotions. And we were able to include Marsha Gomolka from Florida as a part of that team also. And the three of us worked together for 10 years, which is pretty unusual for LWML. But for 10 years, we were able to do a lot of writing of LWML mustard seeds or editing of the ones others wrote for us. And the friendship that just grows from that experience, that was very special to me. And I still consider them very good friends.
Yeah, that's great. And it's neat to see how the mustard seeds have evolved still continually with going into email form, and the little booklets are great, like to have that as an option too. Yeah, it's kind of fun to watch how the ministries have changed over time. And
very much so.
Yeah, well, one last question before we wrap up today. Just, do you have any words of encouragement for the women just who are serving in the different pews who are watching this today? Just any final words of encouragement for them?
Well, I would say for one thing, be willing to try and be willing to ask. When someone taps you on the shoulder and invites you to do something and you're not sure if you can do it, ask them to help. Ask them to guide you through it, because you don't have to do this alone, nor do you have to reinvent the wheel. But listen to that tap, because someone has seen something in you that they want you to be involved this way. And then just ask for the help that you need. And that's both from your sisters in Christ through the LWML, maybe from your home church, and of course from the Lord through prayer and studying his word for guidance. That will go a long way for all of us.
Great. Well, thank you. And thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate you coming on and sharing your words of wisdom with us. And this has been the first edition of the LWML Leadership Interview Series. So thank you for joining us, and we will talk to you later. Bye.
All right, thank you. Bye.